If you're looking to travel to Vietnam, then I've got 6 tips to make it just that little bit easier for you if it's going to be your first time coming here to this beautiful Southeast Asian country. One of the first things that I would say to you, one of the first tips I'd give you is basically to sort out your visa before you come to this country. There's a number of countries that have a 15-day visa-free period, such as where I'm from, the United Kingdom, or I think France as well, a lot of the European countries. But a lot of other countries must get a 1-month visa, which you can apply for online. It's an e-visa. You pay, I think it's $30, and then when you arrive at the airport, you show them your application, and then they stamp you in. Now, what I would say is, I believe it's from the 15th of August 2023, they're actually going to extend that 15-day visa-free period to 45 days. They're going to open up the number of countries that they allow to be visa-free, and also extend the 1-month visa to actually 3 months. So it's going to be a 3-month multi-entry visa, which I know there's a lot of people out there that have been waiting for. So I would suggest that you probably get your visa sorted 2 months before you arrive in Vietnam. Why? Just because at times you very often get, as I've had in the past, you book your ticket and then for some reason the airline sends you an email, and then what they say is, sorry, we've had to change the date of your departure. Why? I don't know, but that's just how it goes. So that's why I would suggest getting your visa sorted out 2 months beforehand. It only takes a few days once you've done your application. I think it's between 3 and 5 working days for that visa to be sorted out. But once you've got it, then you've at least got it. But that's what I would do 2 months before, get your visa sorted out, and be aware that from the 15th of August that actually things are going to change anyway with regards to visas. So it could be you may not actually need a visa, but if you want to stay longer than 45 days, then, well, as from the middle of August, then look into that. Anyway, let's go on to the next tip. So you've arrived in the country, what do you do next? Well, the first thing you do is, once you've got your luggage and you've got into the arrivals area, is go and get a SIM card. But you want a SIM card not just with data, you want a SIM card that allows you to make phone calls too. Why? Well, that's important for the next tip. But what SIM card do you choose? Which one is it that's best out there? The one that I've always been made aware of that's the best one to get is Viettel. Apparently Viettel is run by the military. Now, I don't know if it's true with regards to are they the actual best ones or not. That's the one I've been told. It's just how it is. So I've always been fine. I've been here 6 times and it always seems to be fine when I'm going around the country. So get your SIM card, not just with data, but phone calls as well. Move on to the next tip and then you'll find out why. Okay, so the next tip, what is tip number 3? The next thing is, once you've arrived in the country, you've got your luggage, you've got your SIM card, then where do you go? Well, the next thing you do is download an application on your phone called Grab. What's Grab? Well, Grab allows you to get taxis. That could be motorbike taxi, it could be a regular taxi if you've more than one person, you've got some luggage, and it's heavily discounted with regards to the other taxis that you may find, for example, around the airport, stuff like that. So I've used Grab a lot actually the time that I've been here. It's actually the first time I've used it. I've never really needed it before, but Grab is excellent. So for example, a couple of weeks ago I was in Hanoi, I was studying Vietnamese. I needed to go from the apartment that I rented to the school that I was studying in. It's about 5.5 kilometers. Using Grab, I was able to get a Grab motorbike to go from the coffee shop where I was having my coffee in the morning to go to the school, and it cost me somewhere between $1 and $2 to go 5.5 kilometers. Not bad, huh? Tried doing that in Europe, tried going 5.5 kilometers for a couple of dollars. Last time I did 5 kilometers in Europe, in Amsterdam, to go from the airport to an airport hotel, it cost me about 21 euros. So that tells you the huge difference between, for example, the cost of living in Europe and here in Vietnam. Now, Grab is useful not only for hailing taxis, but you can also order things like food. So for example, if you do like I did a couple of weeks ago and had an apartment in Hanoi and you think, oh, I can't be bothered to go out tonight, you can order in food. So if you found a restaurant you like and they happen to be using the Grab service to deliver, then basically you can order food as well. So it's an extremely useful application to get. It's also, if you're traveling around Southeast Asia, you can use Grab in Malaysia, I know, and you can also use it in Thailand, I believe. I don't know of any other Southeast Asian countries. I'm sure they're in them. Why is there not Uber here? Apparently Uber was here, just as a quick aside, but Grab just beat them. They are the ones that people use. Let's move on to the next tip. The next piece of advice that I would give you is to learn a little bit of the language. Now I know if you ever come to Vietnam and you hear the language, you might be thinking, what on earth are people talking about? Kind of sounds like they're shouting at one another. They're not. It's just actually how the language seems to work. So when I first came here 4 years ago, I do remember being in immigration and returned to a lady behind me in the queue and said, so how do you say hello in Vietnamese? And she went, oh, that's easy, xin chào. So I would say to you, and as a professional travel photographer, this is something I do in a lot of countries, is learn to say hello, goodbye, please, and thank you. It goes a long way over here if, for example, you can speak a little bit of the language. They're surprised that you actually know it, but also certainly as a photographer, it tends to break down barriers and you tend to be able to get a little bit more out of people. So for example, xin chào, hello, then you get goodbye, tạm biệt, then you have please, cảm ơn, which is not used that often, and then thank you, cảm ơn, which is, you'll hear that all the time. So, and also for example, if you want to say no, it's không, and what you could also just say is không cảm ơn, no thank you, which is always useful if people are trying to get you to buy stuff or in the street. So you pick up phrases the longer you are here. As I mentioned in one of my previous tips, I actually started to study Vietnamese properly, which has actually helped a lot because I've been able to expand my knowledge of the language. It's helping my trips around the country just to get a little bit more out of people. So that's what I would advise you to do, is when you go to Vietnam or any other country, learn at least hello, goodbye, please, thank you. It will go a long way. If you want to learn more, of course, learn more, but that's the next tip I would give you. The fifth tip that I would give you is traffic in Vietnam. Now, you might hear in the background there's all the honking of horns, etc. that's going on, like there. So, traffic can be very chaotic here in Vietnam. So if you've never been to Asia, there are some Asian countries that are very regimented. For example, like Japan. But if you come here to Vietnam, you looked across the road and you might think, well, how the heck do I get across the road? Because they don't seem to stop. So that's another thing you need to be aware of, is one, just with the traffic, but also two, just because there's a red light, it doesn't necessarily mean they're actually going to stop. So you have to be very aware of the traffic when you cross the road. Certainly when you go to somewhere like, for example, Hanoi or Ho Chi Minh City, where there's thousands upon thousands of motorbikes going up and down all the time. It's incredible to see the amount of traffic, motorbike traffic, that is here in Vietnam. Now, motorbikes are used a lot because it's a cheaper mode of transport for the locals rather than trying to buy a car. So basically, when you see that traffic, what you're going to have to do is learn to cross the road again. And you might be thinking, seriously, I've got to learn to cross the road? Yes, you'll see. Now, the tip I would give you when crossing the road is you're going to look right, you're going to look left, and you're going to keep looking, but just cross. Just because there's a, as I said, a red light or even a pedestrian crossing doesn't mean they're going to stop. So just cross, keep going. They're not going to run you over. They will go around you. Just obviously be cautious, but just cross the road. You'll get there, but it is good fun trying to cross the road over here at times because it tests the nerve. The last tip that I would give you with regards to coming to Vietnam is find a good coffee shop. Now you might be thinking, seriously, coffee? Yes. Why? Because, well, one, I love to have a coffee in the morning, but if you're used to, for example, Western coffee shops, your Starbucks, your Costa, your Nero, for example, from the UK, honestly, when you come to Vietnam, don't go to Starbucks. There are Starbucks around, but don't go there. You are doing this country an absolute disservice by going to Starbucks. Why? Because the coffee in the local coffee shops is infinitely better than you will get in somewhere like Starbucks. Starbucks, if you've been there, then you try to pick up a coffee and drink it, you will never drink it. It's far too hot. When you come here, it always seems to be perfect. It's also a lot stronger, so be very, very careful of the regular black coffee, because there's 20 grams of coffee in that cup of coffee, and it's only a small amount of coffee. It is very, very strong. I have heard stories of people saying, oh well, some foreigners can't actually take the regular Vietnamese coffee. I do drink it. It's really nice, but it does take some getting used to. But it's not just regular coffee, regular black coffee. You can get your milk coffee, of course, but you can also get things like coconut coffee, which is my favorite, and I'll show you a little bit of B-roll of my morning coffee. You can get egg coffee. I've heard of durian coffee. Just trying to think, there's also salt coffee. And now you might look at that and think, salt coffee? God, no way, that must be gross. Honestly, it's not. It's actually really nice if you can find someone that does a really good salt coffee. It's a very kind of attack on the senses in some way, on your taste buds, and because you're not expecting it, and it is actually really nice. If you get over the fact that there's salt in your coffee, it's actually really nice. So definitely when it comes to Vietnam, the last thing that's very important here, they're everywhere anyway, is the amount of coffee shops. Go find yourself a good coffee shop. Don't just go to one, try several out. You will find a good one. I did that in Hanoi a few weeks ago. I was trying to find a decent, for example, coconut coffee. I was going to a chain called Aha, a local chain called Aha. It was okay, it wasn't that good. One of my teachers, she said to me, try Gom Cafe. So it looks like C-O-N-G, but there's a hat on the O, Gom Cafe. What you want to do is try that if you're in Hanoi for coconut coffee. That's pretty darn good. So, but outside of that, get to your local coffee shop, support your local coffee shop. And there you go, there's 6 tips for making it just a little bit easier for when you first come to Vietnam. I'll do another vlog at some point on doing, if you're going to be staying here for a while, some of the other things that you could do. In any case, I hope that you've enjoyed a little bit of an introduction as to how I see Vietnam and what it is that you should do to prepare yourself to come to this country. Catch you on the next vlog, wherever that might be, and there are more coming soon. Sorry there's been a huge break between December last year doing a vlog and then now, but in any case, I hope you liked it. See you again soon on the next vlog, sometime, somewhere soon. Take it easy, folks. Goodbye.